Good morning. Important question. Have you ever regretted buying camera gear? Any accessories, anything you've ever regretted? You spent time on it, energy on it, didn't work for you, just sat in the closet? Just let me know in the comments. I'm super curious because today I have camera gear that I bought that I regret, okay? And I want to share that with you. It may help you not make the same mistakes I did, or simply could be just kind of fun to look back into it. And make sure you watch until the end because I have one that actually cost me more than my camera, and to this day I'm dreading to take it. So if you're curious, let's get right into it and let's save some money. Alright, welcome. Let's get started. I'm excited, and if you have any of those items, those accessories, let me know in the comments if they're helpful for you, if it's just a me thing, or if for you also you kind of regret buying them and you never use them. Super curious. Let's get started with number one. Number one is, let's go. It is not a neck strap, it is actually a wrist strap that I talked about in several videos that I used for a little bit, but it was fairly expensive for what it was. It was a Peak Design wrist strap, and I ended up not using it after a while. I thought this would be helpful and it would make me more safe if someone tries to pull it away from me or something, but at the end of the day, some people do really well with the neck strap that you just like roll around. That works. It's a little bulky, but honestly, I just put it around my shoulder and I hold the camera like that. This is so much easier than just a wrist strap that is kind of limiting in its usage and honestly kind of hurts. So I bought it, used it for 3 weeks, was excited about it, maybe even talked about it in a video. Some people loved it too, but after, what has it been, like 2 years, I never use it. So I want to be honest and come through with that. I don't use it anymore. Now, the second one is interesting. It actually costs a lot of money. But before that, if you don't know me, if you don't know my work, my name is Pierre Lambert. I'm a travel adventure photographer and the creator of the 30 Day to Great Photos, a step-by-step method for training your eye to see like a photographer so that you can take photos you love no matter where you are and no matter what kind of gear you use. There's a link in the description if you want to learn more, but I also share free tutorials on this YouTube channel, it's Photography Adventures, so subscribe to see the next one. Now, the second tool is called Arsenal 2. Who has heard of it? I've talked about it once on the channel. Let me know in the comments if you got it. What do you think of it? Honestly, I think it was a really good idea. It's worked on certain levels when I tested it with the team because I had the team around, but somehow it kept crashing. And after that, there was supposed to be a lot of updates and fixes, and honestly, the updates were not there, the fixes were not there, and so I never really used it. It's a $300 tool. I couldn't use it after. I actually gave it away to someone, and I remember thinking, wow, this could be really game-changing, but it wasn't. So I even updated my old video saying, don't get it, update, not good, etc. What's interesting about that is that sometimes we get seduced by the idea of taking photos, time lapses, composites. When I say composites, it's like stacking photos, for example, to remove the crowd, doing longer exposures, all that more easily with our camera. But those tools may usually make things more complicated. And what I realized is that if you want to do HDR, if you want to do crowd removal, sometimes your phone is the fastest, is easiest way to do it in live mode and with like small apps. It taps into the computational power. Our cameras don't do that at all right now, except if you use one of those little box. But honestly, you take your photos, you do your like long exposure, you take several exposure, you bring them in your computer, and it's not the end of the world, you know. So never use that tool afterwards. It just wouldn't work for me. Now, number 3 is a vertical adapter for tripods. You're supposed to be able to turn, basically when it's on a tripod, from one direction to the other super easily. Now, I thought it was a good idea for me to get it, maybe for content creation, for things, but at the end of the day, I still haven't used it. It's been a few months and it's literally been sitting in that box. So when this happens and you spend $75 on it, you can conclude that it wasn't a good investment. It wasn't a good tool because I don't see myself using it at all right now, because even like putting it on is kind of complex. So totally thrown off. Let me know if you have it, if you use it. I'm sure some people will find a really great use case with it, but not for me, not right now. Let me know what you think in the comment. Now, number 4 is linked to this little thing, right? This is small, tiny, and light, but look, who would get cases that are hard and heavy for SD cards? Well, I did at some point. I got the Polar Pro ones, and honestly, they're supposed to be heavy duty and all that, but how often do you break SD cards, right? Hardly ever. So I bought this SD card hard case holder that I would never use. I could fit maybe like 4, 6, or 8 max cards in there, and then it would add so much weight in my bag that it didn't make sense. It was almost as heavy as a lens. I was like, what? Why? I didn't understand the design idea behind it. But look at this. You can put all your memory cards in something like this. It's super light. It is great. Like, I'm not gonna break memory cards. Even if I do this, the memory card isn't gonna break, you know? But why don't you let me know how you feel about them? Do you use them? Do you not use them? Do you think they're helpful? Let me know in the comments. Number 5, here we go. We have them here. Okay, what is that? Variable ND filters. Okay, they turned out to be a good idea at the beginning and I was excited about them, but I never use them. I never use VNDs, and I think I'll redo an updated video on filters. But why do I not use VNDs? Because there's a lot of color cast in most of them, especially these. It is bringing down the quality of my image. Any reflection on cars and stuff is gonna look weird. Basically, if you don't know how VNDs work, they're variable ND filters, right? So instead of having a fixed ND8, which I love, I have one, been using it for years, you basically have a filter that can go from ND2 to ND5, for example. And the way it works is 2 polarizers that keep turning. It induces a lot of weird things in the images. Some of them are better than others. The Nisi ones are definitely better, and they're called true colors. They had way less cast or anything than others, but I would not recommend. And everyone who asks me about what filters to use, especially if it's photography and video, I'm like, get a real ND, like ND8, ND16, and that's it, and a few adapters. Let me know if you use VNDs. I have a lot of friends who do. It's just a question of philosophy. It just never fit my bag and my usage. So, all right, number 6, here we go. Action camera tools. Okay, how many of you have an action cam? How many of you are using the action cam? And how many of you have bought accessories you've never used for your action camera? I've used so many over the years. I've bought a lot of action camera tools, whether it's for mounting on a bike, on a car, on a bag, on anywhere. And most of the time I actually don't use them, sadly, right? And I think it's wasteful, and over the years I've become a lot more minimalist with what I will need and what I will buy. But they sell you those bags on Amazon with like so many tools. You're like, wow, I have 64 tools, but you only need one. And so the rest is just waste. Now, there is one item that I've used, and it actually is one of my biggest, most important tool. It was a big part of my success, quote unquote, on YouTube. And this is my chest strap for my action cam. And then I had the GoPro. So all the POVs you've seen have been shot with this. This has lived a lot of stories, a lot of life with me. Now my last one is extremely expensive. It's actually more expensive than my camera, and it's kind of a bummer. So I'll explain as much as I can why and why not it's a good and a bad investment. Okay, this is my naughty cam for my Sony A1. So now you're like, wait, what? This housing is about $7,500. And I'm not even joking. Okay, it's extremely expensive and it's extremely well designed and sturdy, but why do I regret buying it? I will tell you right away. It is too heavy. It is too cumbersome. It is too much of a lot of things for what I like to shoot when I shoot underwater. So this is a case for shooting underwater, right? So you put your camera in there and look at this. This is absolutely beautiful design. You see all the parts, like how it works, all the button you can use. Like, wow, this is great, right? Now, I will tell you something. This is great, but it's also extremely heavy. So when I'm shooting in the water and I'm shooting a lot on the surface, this is very hard to carry around. And if you remember, I used to shoot with a plastic bag until I upgraded for this. And my plastic bag, I've taken shots I absolutely love. I've taken it in so many places. I've shot surf, I've shot underwater, I've went diving with it up to 19, 18 meters, even 20. And I've done so much with it, right? Recently, it finally had a leak after 7+ years of intensive usage. But this housing feels very nice and sturdy, and you can hold it nicely in your hand, but it's so expensive. I feel like I bought a car when I bought it. And at the end of the day, I'm dreading to carry it and move it every time. There's better options like Seafrog. I have a lot of photographer friends when I go to Moria that have Seafrogs, and they're very happy with it. It's much lighter. You can do almost everything you can do with this, but it is much lighter. It is easier to move around, to carry, to logistically literally pass to a friend and to travel with. This, oh my God, like I can't even tell you how much pain it is. I have a friend who dislocated his shoulder by trying to get it back on the boat. Not mine, but his. So I think it's a great investment if you're diving with tanks and if you're like in those environments where you're gonna go diving. But if you're more on the surface and you like to be in waves and maybe you're with whales, the Seafrogs will be working really well. Or a plastic bag like I had, the A1 Marine or Outex. Now, I want to know which item did you buy that you never used, the most expensive one also. So maybe you commented 6 times. Thank you for that. I'm super curious to actually read everything in the comments. Now, would you like to have my most used settings on hand? Well, grab my cheat sheet in the description. And if you want to learn how to use your autofocus to nail your shots, watch this video. And if you want to uncover the secrets of the measuring modes and how it impacts your photos, watch this video. And now remember, get out there, go shoot, try something different, try something new, with or without accessories. Bye.